All right, time for the last chapter.
No.
Okay, chapter 25. I came home from Cedar Grove in April. Forsythia blazed like yellow fire. The trees were a soft golden green with the hint of new leaves, and lawns were lush with grass. The sun shone, the sky glowed deep blue with a scattering of clouds, and people strolled along the streets, some walking dogs, others pushing baby carriages, boys on bikes, girls playing jump rope. The normal world I'd missed so much had moved from a winter to spring just as it always did, but I was a stranger, a convalescent, someone who had been in a rest home. Would anyone be my friend now, or would I take Elsie's place as the outsider? At the corner of Portman Street, Mother told me to close my eyes. Don't open them until I tell you to. Mystified, I did what she said. They must have a surprise for me. Perhaps the shiny new bicycle I wanted. The car stopped and Mother said, "Open your eyes, Annie." On our front porch, my classmates let out a cheer and held up signs welcoming me home in big red letters. Miss Harrison presented me with a bouquet of roses and hugged me. "We're so glad to see you, Annie." The next minute, my friends surrounded me. Everyone talked at once. They'd missed me. Had I missed them? Would I be in school on Monday? They gave me welcome home cards they'd made in class. They hugged me. They complimented me on my dress. They admired my new patent leather shoes. They loved the lavender ribbon in my hair. Jane stuck by my side and clinging to my hand as if I might disappear at any moment. Lucy and Eunice told me stories about school and made me laugh. Only Rosie kind of hung back, not quite meeting my eyes. She was thinner than I remembered, and her face was pale, and her eyes were ringed with dark circles. Her hair had lost its brightness. Worst of all, the spark that had made her our leader had disappeared. Jane noticed me looking at Rosie. Coming closer, she whispered, "Rosie hasn't been herself since she had the flu. She almost died, you know." Immediately, I felt guilty about the flu mask. Why had I let Elsie make me put it in her backpack? Her mother and father are taking her to Hilltop Lodge for the whole summer. Dr. Hughes thinks the fresh mountain air will improve her health. She'll ride ponies and swim in the lake and play tennis. Doesn't that sound grand? I glanced at Rosie, still standing alone on the edge of the group. This time she looked straight at me, but she didn't smile or wave. Without noticing Rosie, Mother walked between us. "The cake and ice cream are ready to serve, Annie. Would you like to help me?" I followed Mother to the table she'd set up on the porch, and the girls gathered around. While Mother cut our cake, I poured glasses of punch, and Miss Harrison scooped ice cream. Rosie was the last in line. After Miss Harrison topped her slice of cake with ice cream, Rosie lingered a moment. "I need to talk to you, Annie," she said. May I stop at your house on my way home from school?" Even her voice was different, flat and dull, barely louder than a whisper. "If it's about the flu mask in your book bag..." No, not that. I know what happened. It's about something else altogether." She walked through the crowd and sat on the porch steps, where she ate her cake and ice cream alone. So it definitely doesn't sound like Rosie. Rosie was the one that was so, loud, right? So this is definitely a new Rosie. When everyone had finished eating, Miss Harrison called, "It's time to return to school, girls. Please thank Miss Harrison or Miss Brownie for the delicious refreshments." The girls moaned and groaned and begged to stay longer, but she reminded them this was a special treat for me and they mustn't tire me out. "Remember, you'll see Annie on Monday." And when they were gone, Mother noticed the yawns I tried to stifle. "You look like you need a nice rest, Annie. Why don't you go to your room and lie down for a little while?" I climbed the stairs slowly and hesitated in the doorway. My bed waited, its pillows fluffed. My books stood straight rows on the shelves. Drawing supplies lay neatly on my desk. The scent of spring drifted through the open window and stirred the curtains. A cloud moved across the sun and darkened my room. The corners filled with shadows. Frightened, I drew back. Suppose Elsie had escaped from her grave again. Suppose she waited for me in the closet or under my bed. She might appear at any moment, swinging upside down from my curtain rod, or sitting in my rocking chair, gloating. She might pick up a jar of poster paint and hurl it on the wall. Mother would think I did it, and she'd send me back to Cedar Grove, and everything would start all over again. Suddenly, Mother was beside me, and her arm was around my shoulders. Is everything all right, Annie? I turned and clung to her as if I were 3 years old. Am I really home to stay? Her arms tightened around me. Yes, of course you are. And you'll never send me away again, no matter how bad I am? Oh, darling, we didn't send you away to punish you. The concussion was worse than Dr. Hughes originally thought. He feared a swelling in your brain was causing your strange behavior. We sent you to Cedar Grove so you could get the rest and recuperation you needed. She drew back and smiled down at me. And just look at you. Your cheeks are pink with health, and you're yourself again. Our Annie is home to stay. I leaned against her, breathing in the familiar lilac scent of her face powder, and I knew I was safe. Mother smoothed my hair and kissed me. You can't imagine how empty this house has been without you. I took off my shoes and lay on my bed. Mother coveted me with a light blanket and closed the curtains. Kissing me once again, she went downstairs. Later that afternoon, Mother shook my shoulders gently. Wake up, Annie, she said. Rosie is here. Rosie sat on the parlor sofa, waiting for me. I'm glad to see you, Annie. I missed you. I missed you, too. Rosie turned her head and coughed. Are you all right? I asked her. I'm not over the flu just yet, she told me. My mother's taking me to the mountains this summer. Dr. Hughes believes fresh air is what I need to get my strength back. Jane told me. She said there'll be ponies and tennis and swimming. It sounds wonderful. Mother appeared with a tray and 2 glasses of lemonade. Would you like to sit on the porch? It's a lovely day. We followed her outside and sat side by side on the swing. I knew Mother was worried about Rosie, and I was glad she thought to bring us something to drink. After Mother went back inside, Rosie said, I didn't come here to talk about Hilltop Lodge. Something about her voice and the look in her eyes made me nervous. What do you want to talk about then? I waited for her to go on, but she gazed silently across the lawn, beyond the tallest trees in the sky, darkening now and then with passing clouds. She sat with her arms folded tightly across her chest as if she were holding herself together. Tiny threads of blue veins were visible under the skin of her temples. Although I'd never known Rosie O'Malley to be afraid of anything, she was definitely scared. Tell me, Rosie, I begged, what's frightening you? Without looking at me, Rosie told me. While I was sick, I had a terrible dream. Well, nightmares, much worse than nightmares. Dr. Hughes said they were hallucinations brought on by my fever, but I think they were real. She really was in my room, Annie.
Rosie. I meant to say Elsie.
Yes. Annie, every single night, she sat on my bed and watched me. She was waiting for me to die. She knew I would. I was too sick to live much longer. Who? I asked. Who was sitting on your bed? I waited for her to tell me, but I knew the answer already.
No, she's not.
You know, Rosie said. You saw her too. Before I could say Elsie, Rosie pressed a thin, cold finger against my mouth. Don't say her name. Don't ever say her name. Why not? Rosie stared past me as if she saw something stir in the shadows under the fir tree. She might think you're calling her. I peered into the shadows, too. I saw nothing but a slight movement in the branches. The wind, I told myself. Just the wind passing through. Not her. But how many times had I said her name after she'd gone away? If Rosie was right... No, don't think about it, I told myself. She's gone, gone, gone. Forever gone. Rosie spoke so softly I had to lean close to hear her. She told me she made you put the flu mask in my book bag. She said she gave me the flu because I stole her mask and she caught the flu and died. I had to pay for her life with mine unless I became her friend. And I told her I'd rather die, and she said it made no difference, alive or dead. I'd never get away from her. I stared at Rosie in amazement. She told me the same thing. We'd be friends forever. Just her and me, nobody else. She wanted me to help her pay back her enemies, starting with you. Rosie seized my hands. Oh, Annie, what will she do to us? I squeezed Rosie's cold hands. She can't do anything to you or me or anyone else. She's gone forever. How do you know that? I saw her go. While Rosie huddled beside me in the swing, I told her about my last night with Elsie. She left peacefully. She won't come back. Rosie sighed deeply. We sat side by side, gently rocking the swing back and forth and back and forth. The only sound was the creak of the ropes. The sun was low now, and the shadows on the lawn were darker and longer. On the other side of town, evening shadows crept across Forest Heights Cemetery. A solitary crow perched on the outstretched hands of a stone angel. The wind blew, and the shadows shifted. Slowly, the crow lifted its wings and flew away into the dark sky. The end.
That's a happy ending.
The end! We got done! So,
Happy ending.
yes, it was.